In this video, you will see how you can identify suited candidates for an assignment. In the first step, candidates are identified with a structured criteria search called matching. A long list is created to save the retrieved candidates from the search. Next, further candidates are identified with a keyword search. With the CV passing, data is imported to OktoCareer database from candidates' CVs. Finally, a shortlist is derived from the long list. The candidate suggestions are sent to the client. In our example, the company K Supplies has placed an assignment for a marketing manager. I search for K Supplies LLC with a simple keyword search. Then I open the company file. The file opens in a new tab. On the left-hand side, I see the company's data. On the right-hand side, I see all communication and activity with this company. I open the assignment drawer and select the assignment for the marketing manager. The assignment opens in a new tab. On the left-hand side, the details of the assignment are listed. On the right-hand side, all communication and data that is related to the assignment is available. Before I start my candidate search, I take a look at the assignment details. I take the opportunity to add some more requirements for the candidate. Now I take a quick look at the current follow-ups for this assignment. There is one follow-up for candidates that have already been submitted to the client. I check the ads that are posted on online portals for the assignment. In the candidates drawer, I can see the candidates that were already proposed to the client. Some of the candidates are reserved, which is indicated with a red R, and the birthday of one candidate is coming up, which is indicated by the star. Now I will start the search for candidates in my database by structured criteria called matching. The matching folder has opened in a new tab. In the bottom navigation, you can find various groups of parameters that can be used to filter candidates from your database. In the first tab, I can include keywords, consultants, and offices, and I can apply filters for certain activities that have occurred in a defined time span. An activity can be anything that you have defined, such as that the complete documents were received from the candidate, or that the candidate was interviewed, and so on. In the first step, I do not apply any criteria here, as I do not want to limit the result list by being too strict. In the internal tab, I can select candidates that fit certain categories, and I can limit the search to candidates that have filled out the online candidate questionnaire to a certain degree. For my search, I only want to consider candidates that have an internal rating of 1 or 2. In the Personal tab, I can filter candidates by personal data such as address. As I need a specialist, I do not limit my search to New York. In the Education section, I select a high school degree as a requirement for my candidates. In the Expectations tab, I can limit my search to candidates with certain job expectations. The ideal candidate should want to work in marketing, media, and/or sales. I mark the 3 boxes, and only candidates will be displayed who have at least one of the 3 target job expectations. As my client needs marketing experts in the automotive industry, I mark all automotive industry sectors. The client's office is in New York. As I didn't limit the candidate search to New York, I need at least candidates who are willing to move to New York. My client is looking for an experienced person. Therefore, I select experience in the automobile industry as a requirement. Also, the current seniority of the candidate should be at least 4 on a scale from 1 to 10. The candidate should have leadership experience, so I exclude all candidates who have no leadership experience. The ideal candidate should have international experience, with France in particular, so I select France. Also, it would be good if the candidate has lived at least for some time in France, so I mark France in the residence requirements as well. Now I select the general professional skills that are required. This is mainly creativity. In the long list, I want to see candidates that have creativity skill with a rating of 3 or better. I do not select other criteria in order not to limit the search too much. In the Expertise tab, I can select very specific skills. This offers the opportunity to find experts for a very detailed skill set. In this case, I need candidates who are good in agency management and in corporate identity management. Also, they need to have experience in industrial goods marketing. Since the marketing manager will also work with the sales department, he should have experience in sales of industrial goods. In the software section, I select the required software skills. I focus only on the industry-specific software, as this will help filtering the right candidates. I'm looking for candidates with knowledge in the SAP marketing module and in SAP for the automotive industry. Finally, I select the languages. English should be perfect, and French should be perfect or very good. By pressing Apply Filter, OktoCareer searches your database for candidates who match the selected criteria. The search has filtered 17 persons from the database. This is more than I expected. To narrow down the result list, I revert to the matching panel. To increase the quality of candidates, I select a further requirement, which is that an internal interview should have taken place with the candidate. This information is available as all communication with the candidates is recorded as an activity in the candidate file. When an interview takes place, this is recorded with the activity type, conducting interview internally. In the activity, some comments from the interview may be stored as well. I use this data to apply a filter that selects only candidates who have the activity type conducting interview internally associated to their activity history. To avoid national or global recruitment, I will see what happens when I restrict the search to candidates who already live in New York. To generate the new hit list, I press Apply Filter. The new list is shorter than the first one. Now, there are only 9 candidates. This is the number I would like to work with. In the next step, I will work with the long list to get to a short list. To get a better overview, I structure the list so that I can better compare and see what is important. First, I hide columns from the list that contain candidates' criteria that have no further relevance to my decision. Those are mainly the criteria without a rating. All candidates in the hit list have a high school diploma. Thus, I don't need to see this parameter any longer in the list. All candidates have experience in the automotive industry, so I can hide that column, and so on. I forgot about the city. All candidates live in New York, so I can hide that column as well. Next, I change the order of the columns. And I change the size of the columns. Now I have a nice list with a good overview for comparing the candidate's skills and ratings. To have this list available in the later stages of the process, I save it as a search query. I name the search query Marketing Managers Automotive for K Supplies. The list is saved as a dynamic list by the criteria listed here. This means that the content of the list will change as there are changes in the database. When new applicants enter the database, and they match the criteria of this search query, the applicants will be added to this list automatically. And vice versa, if properties of the candidates are changed so that they don't match this list anymore, they disappear from this search query. Now I save the list and go to the list of all search queries. It is indicated that my search query currently contains 9 candidates, and that it is dynamic. However, I want to have more control over my list, so I change the list from dynamic to static. For a static list, I control manually who is in the list and who is not. Candidates are no longer added and withdrawn from the list by the search criteria of the matching. The list is now static. I reopen the list. In a static list, I have the option to sort the applicants into groups and write individual comments. This option is not available in a dynamic list. So far, I have filtered candidates by criteria that are in the applicant tracking system. However, not all candidates may have filled out their skill profile with the online questionnaire. The keywords may only be in documents that the candidate has submitted. Thus, I do a keyword search that is also searching in the candidate's documents. I enter Marketing Manager Automotive in the keyword search. The system now searches for exactly this combination of words and encloses the candidate documents in the search. In fact, there seems to be a candidate who may fit, but who I missed with my previous search. I open the candidate file. This is a new applicant who has just submitted her application. The candidate skill profile is not yet filled out. But there is a CV. This is where the keyword search must have found the search term, Automotive Marketing Manager. I open the CV and see that this may be a candidate that I would like to consider. To add the candidate's data, as far as we have it to the database, I perform a CV parsing operation. I select the CV, hit the right mouse button and select Parse CV. The CV is now analyzed and transformed into digital data. On the left-hand side, I see what is already stored in the candidate file. On the right-hand side, I see what OktoCareer has recognized in the resume. I can select the information that I want to be stored. Either I select the existing information, or I select the data that was retrieved from the CV. For some data, it is necessary to adapt the rating, as there is no rating in the resume. I select rating 1 for the English, as it is the mother tongue, and I select 1 for French, as the candidate has rated herself as fluent. Information about former jobs is also added. I update the applicant's file by pressing save. The candidate's file is updated now. I revert to the search results, and I add the candidate to my list. I hit the right mouse button and select which search query to which the candidate is to be added. Now I revert to my candidate list. The new candidate, Alison Lawrence, now shows up in the list. In the next step, I want to group the candidates in the list. I create groups using the context menu by clicking the right mouse button. A candidates are candidates of my first choice. B candidates are my second choice, and waitlist are my spare candidates. I can conveniently group the candidates in the list using the drop-down menu. The comments that I write for each candidate are only saved in the list. They are not saved in the candidate file. To sort the list by groups, I need to close the list and reopen it. Now the list is sorted by candidate groups. As Christina Robinson is the best candidate for this position, I will propose her first before I propose any other candidates. I do a final check of her candidate file. Now I will inform my client, K-Supplies, by email that I found an excellent candidate. The email is part of a new activity that I opened for Christina Robinson. As an activity type, I select Candidate Profile Sent to Client. I select the Marketing Manager assignment and my contact person. Also, I create a follow-up that will show up in OktoCareer, and I send a copy of the follow-up to my Outlook mail account. In the Candidate tab, I indicate that Christina Robinson is reserved for me. I select an email template from the list of available templates. I add a personal line in the email. Finally, from the list of available documents, I choose the CV of Christina Robinson to be enclosed in the email. By pressing Save, a number of processes are triggered. These are: the activity is recorded in all relevant files, including the candidate file, the client file, and the assignment file. Email is sent to the client. The candidate is now related to the assignment in the assignment file. Follow-up action is created in OktoCareer. Get an appointment file for the follow-up to be stored in my Outlook calendar. The candidate is reserved for me. This is what the activity looks like. I revert to the candidates list. Christina Robinson is now marked with a red R, which indicates to other consultants that she is reserved for me. I update the remark in my list. Alternatively, I could add a new column, which indicates the latest activity of each candidate. For future reference, I will add hashtags to the candidate list. Hashtags are keywords that help finding the list later. As this search was for an automotive marketing manager, I choose marketing and automotive as hashtags. Also, I add the assignment number as a hashtag, which automatically connects the candidate list to the assignment file. I'll go to the assignment file. In the activities of the assignment, I can see the latest activity, which was mailing the candidate profile to the client. In the candidate drawer, I see all candidates that are somehow related to this assignment. My favorite candidate, Christina Robinson, is at the top of the list. In the search query drawer, I see all search queries that are related to this assignment. My search query, Marketing Manager Automotive for K Supplies, is in the list because I entered the assignment number as a hashtag in the search query. If I want to access my list later, I'll find it conveniently in the assignment file. I can add more search queries that may be of interest for this assignment by using hashtags. Maybe there have been searches for similar candidates in the past. I will give it a try. I go to Edit Assignment, and I add advertising as a hashtag that may describe the kind of people I look for. I was successful. Apparently, there has been a search for candidates that can be described with the keyword advertising in the past. The search query appears in the list of search queries for this assignment. It is called Campaign Manager. Obviously, one of my colleagues was searching for a campaign manager and built up this list. Open the list to see which candidates are in there. One lives in San Diego and one lives in Osaka. This job, Osaka is too far away, so I only check the details of the San Diego person. Her name is Kathy Brooks. After looking at her file, I decide that she fits my marketing manager's list well, so I add her to my list in case my first choice is not accepted by the client. This was just one example of how OktoCareer can support you in your daily work.